everybody. Hopefully, Alexander will be able to hit on some of the entrepreneurial stuff. I had a person call me a raconteur, and I was offended, so I looked it up and figured out that in a seasonal economy like we have, there are niches. I've been able to take, I bought a tour bus on a lark. I'm not the smartest guy, but I took a passion that I have for our heritage and for our history and was able to start pitching the timeshares. Would you like to ride down to Ocracoke and back? And I've been able to make a living with that, being able to segue into things like motor coaches. We have become a motor coach destination here. I have had the opportunity, have to come out of my own pocket, but our tourist bureau has allowed me to come as an observer to the American Bus Association meetings and the National Tour Association meetings and conventions, which is just an epiphany. My point being is that we had a major motor coach group operator that is active in many states in Canada, called the Outer Banks a rising star in motor coach travel. And there's a lot of things you can do to get in. I've been able to go in there and just, this lighthouse has this many steps, and just talk to people and be an advocate for our area. So those options are there. I have a buddy that I grew up with in Hatteras who will talk your ears off. He's a good chef, and he's going into houses down there. He's preparing their little budget, how much you want to spend. Goes in there and talks about his ancestry. He's descended from pirates. He likes to tell people his family washed up on a liquor barrel, and our visitors love hearing that. And so those niches are there. I'll be brief, but I did want to begin tonight by saying on some of these forums that we've had regarding the economy, we've been up in the northern beaches area there. We did one down in Hatteras, and here we are on Roanoke Island. And but I wanted to begin by just relaying to you an experience I had. This is about 17 years ago when they were moving to Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. I had a chance to be around a group of people who were debating the merits of that. The federal government was going to move it, and of course they did. And but I was at a seminar. It was in Chapel Hill, and there was a comment made. I forget exactly the context it was, but essentially the point that was made was that Roanoke Island was not part of the Outer Banks, and I was not in a position to say, hold on here. But to me, it was a ludicrous statement. Now, maybe in fairness to this gentleman, it was from a geologic standpoint, maybe it's not part of the barrier island dynamics that we have, but this is where our attractions are here on Roanoke Island. They've been able to take, the beaches are what sell us, but Roanoke Island has been able to go out there and find a way to bring those people over here. We had a very strong advocate for many, many years with Senator Bass Knight, and how fortunate we were, and other people did buy into that and realize that it is tourism that's really carrying our economy in this state. It's the mountains and the coast. We don't have tobacco anymore. We don't have technology, but what we do, is bring the people in. And for the first time, I know all of our people that are here, the really gratifying news is that the Outer Banks is now a $1 billion economy. And that is just a fascinating thing. Things are good, and it's going to continue to grow. But we also, because we think as a region, I can honestly say that I have never experienced this line of thinking, fortunately, that it's Duck and Currituck up there, and then you got Roanoke Island over there, and Hatteras and Ocracoke down there. We've always managed to think as a region, and that's going to continue to sustain us going forward. Now, I have a mix of things here. I'll get back to what makes Roanoke Island here a player, and it didn't happen by accident. It took place over a number of years here, but it's been able to really make a difference in our success and our stature here in the United States. But I want to go in three directions here. I'll have what we call positive economic indicators, some kind of mixed economic indicators, and then of course the negative indicators. Some of these are relative to Hatteras, some of these might be more relative to other areas, but I think as a whole they're very pertinent. And my first positive economic indicator is going to be our meal tax receipts. And I'm happy to say that a lot of people are eating out, and I'm right here with them. Hatteras in fiscal year, our visitor statistics run on a fiscal year ending in October. I believe I'm accurate on that. Is that correct? June. Okay, that fiscal year set up. But regardless, Hatteras saw on meal tax receipts an increase of 9.23%, and that is really good. Now, Roanoke Island in 2015, I say Roanoke Island because, and this just kind of blows my mind, that Roanoke Island's meal tax receipts are up 11.5%. And to me, that's phenomenal because the everybody, to some extent, looks at our restaurants over on the beach with the seafood restaurants. I mean, even in Wanchese, Fisherman's Wharf was just a juggernaut for years, and they have not been open this year, but still we're seeing meal tax receipts increasing over here in Manteo. Now, when you look for Dare, as far as Dare is up about 5% as a whole. So that is when you get into those kind of numbers of where we're talking about thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, and to have that kind of growth, that is good. Growth is good. Not going to deny a thing. We can't bring enough people here. Now that's going to get me a problem with an argument with a lot of my environmental friends, but this is an economy forum. So the more people we can bring here, I say bring them. We are a seasonal economy. We've got January and February and March to ourselves. We do struggle there, and we are on overload. Everybody's excited for March and April, and things start heating up in June and July, and then we start hitting a wall. The people who are providing these services, I think, and when people see these big houses out here and everything, they think that we're all rich and everything, but we don't own those houses. We're cleaning them, and we're doing the plumbing, and we're working in the real estate companies to make sure these families have the best vacation they can have. But it's a little bit of a misnomer there when people refer to us as that we're spoiled and privileged out here. I kind of get, as a school board member, I get incensed on that when I see here in Manteo and also down in Hatteras, where over half the kids are on free or reduced lunch. That's not working the system. That's the reality. Step into these schools, in our elementary schools, and by the grace of God, we've set up a program called More at 4, where we're getting these kids now. We're teaching them to stand in line, teaching them how to tie their shoes, things that they should be learning at home because mom and dad are working their rear ends off, and they can't be at home, and child care is out the roof, and grandmother might have some health issues and stuff. That is a system that is working, and by the time when they get into first grade, that's when a teacher can do what a teacher needs. We've got teachers in the room here that when they can start doing their job. Occupancy tax receipts are also up. Here in Hatteras, my area there, my dad, I've been in the workforce down there beginning in 1973 when I was 13 years old. I started pumping gas for my dad for $1.31 an hour. Today we go to jail for that. But, washing windshields and pumping gas. And I've been in this economy. I'm 55 years old now, so that's I've got a 42-year track record going here working on the, and I've seen the changes, and I've seen it. I'm just tickled to death that my kids here now are going to have a future here instead of just me being a ninth generation Carolinian. I got kids who are going to be attending. I want to provide for them. I want all your children and your grandchildren to have the same thing. These days of World War II and stuff, when people having to move out of here to get a job, I mean, it's just scary. We don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to leave Dare County. In our region. When I was talking with Bob Mueller about this the last time we did one of these forums about our occupancy tax receipts here, and what a juggernaut Nag's Head is. I mean, you know, when you look at when you're bringing in, let me find my figure here. When you're bringing in, these are tax receipts. When you're bringing in $107 million in tax receipts, that's an economic engine right there. It would be wonderful if all that money stayed here in the county, but it doesn't. We've got obligations as well. That's essentially, Bob, am I probably correct in saying that that's up around 40%, 35-40%, would you? Of our gross occupancy tax revenues is essentially Nag's Head. Do you think that's a little inflated?
I think that's a little high.
Okay.
23 to 25.
Okay, all right, well, all right. But, okay, now Hatteras, there on my turf down there, that's about 25-28%. So this area, the south central and the southern areas down there, bringing in about half the pie here. And it's this is a county, Dare County, we're mostly water. The figure has been told to me 75 to 80% of this county is water. And out of that 25% that is land, 80% of that is owned by the federal government. So, by the grace of God, the fact that we've got, Corolla duck, kitty hawk, kill devil, and Nag's Head, I mean, a lot of people are fighting the traffic, but what we've been able to do in a condensed space like that is really a phenomenal thing. And in terms of going forward with our future, and I'm not afraid to say this, and I've said it many times before, having grown up in a national park down there, the National Park Service is going to have to find a better way to be a better economic partner. All right? Where we can tell you how many feathers are, I'm all for natural resources, everybody in here is how many feathers are on a plover and how many turtle eggs they can do this, but you can't tell me what the impact is on an economy based on some of this skewed, this heavy emphasis on our natural resources. To me, that's just sound like something's being shoved back in the closet there. With all the resources that our federal government has, they ought to be able to find a balance to justify how they can do to be a better partner here. The example that I will give you, when I was a kid down in Cape Hatteras, the tackle shops down there, Red Drum Tackle Shop, Cape Point Tackle, Kitty Lowry's place, Frisco Tackle, Frank. On a weekend in the shoulder seasons there, and even and on the big weekends, the July 4th, and Memorial Days, the Easters, you couldn't get in the parking lot of those tackle shops. Everybody was fishing. These guys are an economic juggernaut. I mean, when you look at a surf fisherman, and this is a bigger picture of fishing, I'll try to get to that here in just a minute. They've got a four-wheel drive. That's a high-dollar four-wheel drive. They've got to have tackle. They've got to have bait. They've got to have beer, by golly. They're going to go out to eat. They're going to rent a nice house. These guys, I saw a study that the Hatteras Island, is now defunct, Hatteras Island Business Association had done many years ago, that it's about $1,000 per fisherman, and that includes the weekend wars. That's the broad average we're bringing into the economy. Just to give you an idea of the impact there in the southern part of Hatteras, Avon, Buxton, Frisco, and Hatteras with the Cape Hatteras Anglers Club tournament, that was about just under, based on some data that we have and the fact that you're dealing with experienced people who have experienced things are a resource in themselves, of about 1.8 million impact in the community down there. These are fishermen, all right? But now, we had a turtle nest that was discovered out there on August 29th, and it had a 99% chance of failing, and it failed, okay? Those are pretty... But meanwhile, the most dynamic fishing area, one of the natural wonders of North America, is held hostage over a turtle. And, at that time of year, we lost that turtle, but it would seem to me that we could take a clue out of the Texas book down there, get that turtle up, put him in an incubator, and then have a welcoming party where we send him out in the Gulf Stream. So I am going to hope to see in the future that the park will make a better effort. That conversation has started. I'm an eternal optimist, and do a little better job. Lighthouse climbs are great. Wings Over Water, some great stuff. But meanwhile, we got people that are starving, and we got kids that need a help up. These are all little things that everything has to work together to make one big success story. All right, I'm going to keep moving on here. Also, my family owned Hatteras Realty for years. We have sold out to Wyndham. I'm still in there. I don't get to go on the network anymore, but I did get a computer out of it. But the point I want to make to you on that is that there's a perception that our real estate market is sizzling, and that's not accurate. It is active, but it is not sizzling. We're seeing now things are improving, but undeveloped lot sales are down by 8%. These are vacant land. You would think in a economic principle, supply and demand, when there is none, it's expensive. And we don't have a whole lot here because we're either federally owned or it's all underwater. But to be able to be down 8%, that's there's something wrong there. The same thing is going with residential sales. We are seeing an increase in that. This, again, I'm still on my positive economic here. The number of residential sales is up 22.4%. These are statistics from the Outer Banks Association of Realtors. But the total dollar value is not really keeping pace. But that's a mixed indicator there. The fact that we had this massive market correction, and Rosemarie can speak to that as well, where we were turning into a little, I'm speaking of my experience in Hatteras and Ocracoke, we're turning into a little de facto Nantucket Martha's Vineyard down there. When you can't pick up a mobile home for under $135,000, that the wind has already beat the facing out of it and everything, there's something wrong there. But now we're seeing that we are having a more active real estate market because we are able to take advantage of a corrected market. Hopefully that will sustain itself for a little while longer, and we can continue to take advantage of everybody wants to live here. It's a little slice of paradise. We take our area for granted, and I'm embarrassed to say that I do that all the time. Whenever I leave this area, I spent Thanksgiving out in Charlotte, and man, when I cross that bridge, it's like, thank you, Lord. Okay, let's move on here. I'm going to get into, I actually have covered some of the negative indicators there, that the average selling prices of houses are down about 2% here, and some of this is skewed for Hatteras, have declined compared to 2014. So we're gonna continue to see. We've got really good real estate agents in this area. You would think that let's just pave paradise. But my experience has been, and again, there's real estate people in this room, that we don't want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg here. We don't want to build. Southern Shores, I salute them. They're taking a look at some of these big houses. They are economic juggernauts, but you know what? We got a lot of them. And do we need to keep building those? No, because quaint is a selling. That's why Mania. That's why you had over 200 motor coaches coming into Mania here, because they've got quaint. Sex sells, but quaint sells too. Now Ocracoke is the same way. People want to go to Ocracoke down there. These people are in Northern Virginia, where a big slice of our market is, and they've got that stuff all day long. They want to come down here, walk into a shop, and have somebody, hi, how are you? Where are you here from? And have those kind of conversations that they're not going to get at Union Square or some of the other places where they're all massed together. So these are the things that attract people here. Now, speaking specifically here about Roanoke Island and the job that they've been able to do, I'm not going to deny a thing. Having grown up in Hatteras, we always, felt a little animosity toward Roanoke Island. Y'all up there.
Really?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Bob. I know that surprises you to hear that. But, I don't begrudge them a thing. I really don't. When you look at the shopping opportunities over there, wonderful. I mean, this is the birthplace of English-speaking America. It's history's greatest mystery here. People want to see that. The Lost Colony, I'm not going to be naive enough to tell you that we take it for granted because we don't. But that thing is, it's a national player in terms of theater. If you're a kid and you've got that on your resume, I say a kid, if you're coming out of college and you're trying to get a job in New York City, that's a little something there that'll probably will definitely get you some attention here. Now, the Outer Banks Seafood Festival is, what a gas that is. It's when you're able to do that and it's not like working, it's having fun, that is really cool. I'm telling you this because if you were there and you saw the Wicked Tuna tent, those guys were grabbing water as fast as they could. Charlie Griffin, the Fishing Frenzy guys, the two girls there, Tammy and stuff, with real action, they were a hit. You can't buy that kind of publicity. Nat Geo, National Geographic TV, is a major player in the cable TV market. Now, Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks, was the #2 show on their entire, and it would have been #1, which was Wicked Tuna, because that ran in the winter months. People in July, they're out doing stuff that people do in the summertime. Had Wicked Tuna on the Outer Banks ran in the winter markets coming up that we've got here, it would have eclipsed. And they're back here, they're doing it again. So there's a shout out for Wanchese over there. Now, Wanchese there's a great quality of life over there. I lived over there for a couple of years, and they treat you like they've known you your whole life. I can honestly say that. And Manio is that way as well. I think Wanchee's got a little bit of an edge on that. They just seem to be more friendly over there. They don't have as many insecurities over there as they do over here. And plus, they like when the weather's miserable. God, they love that in Wanchee. That's when they're smiling. When it's nasty out, blowing northeast, 25 knots. But also our boat building, it's the Seafood Industrial Park and y'all know this, has been able to make a go of it when the intentions, has been able to make a go of it despite what happened to it. It got beat down. It really shouldn't have happened. Our inlets are resources. I think the perception is that we're honing in on the commercial fishermen. That's all about no. Fishing covers a lot of hats. You're surf fishermen. You've got your commercial fishermen. You got your boating guys. Now, also, you're seeing these water sports coming up here. The fastest growing extreme sport are these water sports. You got these guys, the kayakers and stuff. Kiteboarding. Kiteboarding is the fastest growing water sport in the United States. And we're the #2 destination. If it wasn't for Hawaii, we'd be the Outer Banks as a region. North Carolina is a player on that. But it's all tied in with fishing. I think the perception is a lot of times that we're spending an inordinate amount of time with Oregon Inlet. We're fighting Mother Nature on that, Hatteras Inlet as well. No, this is an economic engine. You got to spend money on what makes you money. That's my feeling there. And we're going to see, there's 2 bridge things here. Again, I'm kind of getting into some stuff here on the future. When that bridge goes in, some of y'all hopefully have been paying attention to some of the things that have been online about that. That bridge is going to be really, really a piece of art. When that bridge was built and when it opened for traffic March 15, 1963, it was a state-of-the-art bridge. What's going to be going on with this one is going to be a state-of-the-art bridge here. They're going to be starting work in March. You're going to see more activity. It cracked me up when a fellow I grew up with down there said, they're drilling for oil up there at S-curves. I said, no, they're not. They're checking to see if the pylons will work out there and prepare the way of the jug handle. And also here with Currituck, again, this is an economy forum. We're not talking about the environment. When that bridge goes in there, that's gonna help us. It's gonna help us from an economic standpoint. We have nothing to fear from Currituck. I mean, the names are the same. You got the Etheridges and the Daniels and the Midgets and the Williams and the Austins and the Rollinsons. They're there in Currituck and they're down there in Hyde as well. When you have one of the most powerful men in North Carolina politics telling our guys that you're privileged and you're spoiled, I mean, good gracious, it's just a ludicrous thing to have to hear that from our people here that are supposed to represent us when we're going to continue to have to dig out of that hole. Bad PR is a bad thing to try and overcome, and we've got to change some perceptions in Raleigh. That's my opinion. Okay, I did want to kind of back up a little bit there on the Mid-Currituck Bridge. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, we don't need a bridge to be serving people, 4 months out of the year. Well, it's going to help us to get out of this seasonal stuff. When you can go to Corolla in January on Martin Luther King holiday, and you can go on President's Weekend in February, that's when people start getting some change in their pocket, start having a little bit of spending money. And but these bridges are going to be a big part of our future going forward. It's all part of a plan. We're very fortunate. And when you look at what our region as a whole can do for the state and what we can do with our own, so we had some good talks about poverty here. It's heartbreaking, folks, to see what goes on in some of our schools, being in those schools, being on the school board and stuff, and seeing some of the kids in there. I got 3 kids, and it's crushing. So what we are doing today is about them tomorrow. Guys, I'm running into some stuff here that has taken a lot longer than I intended. Just if there's a couple of things I can leave you with is just remember that our heritage is what draws people here. When Orville and Wilbur Wright came here, they didn't just come here because they didn't want anybody spying on them. They didn't just come here because of the soft landing of the sand. They came here because we treated those guys like we'd known them their whole lives. All right? And Wilbur Wright, he died in 1912, but in 1908, 1909, don't hold me to that. One of those 2 years in there, he ended up back down here and was documented saying, well, when I'm here, the weight of the world comes off of my shoulders. That's what we're selling. When you go into one of the restaurants here, and these people are working hard, but they treat you like they've known you most of your life, you're not going to get that in Ocean City, New Jersey. You're not going to get that in Florida. You're not going to get that in anywhere else. And Wilmington, bless his heart, I love everybody down there and all, but they cannot match what we have to offer. As we go into the future, we're going to continue to see North Carolina continue to be a major player. This would have to be backed up with some Department of Commerce statistics, but we're up there in the upper 5 to 6 states. We are not bringing in the kind of money that Florida is, but I tell you what, we're right up there with Colorado and California as well. North Carolina has a lot to offer, a lot to sell, and we are a major piece of that puzzle. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out.